So when folks say that One Piece has bad fights and the fights aren't that good,
Have you seen?
I'm like, yeah, well, looking at chapter 1001, I'm not too sure about that one, baby. I'm not too sure about that one. A pretty good, I'd argue, fight-oriented chapter. And it has that One Piece spin to it too, where like you just can't help but have like a little meme here or there. We have Luffy, Kid, and Law like,
The fuck is that?
it's good stuff. You just can't deny it. Oh, we're not good fights. I'm like, bruh, what are you talking about? Clearly you're misinformed on how good One Piece fights can be, at least in terms of manga. Now, of course, Oda takes his time to actually get there, obviously. But if you agree with me, give your boy not only a thumbs up, but also a subscription. That'd be awesome. That being said, latest chapter One Piece, obviously, 1001, where in this chapter we have some very good fight panels. The fight between Luffy, Kid, Law, Zoro, and Killer against Kaido and Big Mom. Now, of course, for me personally, the most important panel is without a doubt the panel of Luffy standing in front of images of those that Kaido deems in high esteem. And you have to wonder, what did Kaido see? What did Kaido realize about Monkey D?
Nuts. Got him.
Luffy. In a general sense, I think Kaido's realized that this young monster is a monster. He is a monster among monsters. The 5 men who can fight Kaido, those that Kaido respects, because knowing Kaido's personality, about how he respects and how he views death and strength in particular, because we see how his own pirate crew is structured, where you have the all-stars against any of the flying 6, and you have to keep your skills top-notch so you don't lose your rank. Kaido respects strength, absolute power. And yet these 5 men, Gold D. Roger, Edward Newgate, Rox D. Sebek, Kozuki Oden, and Red Hair Shanks, these men he holds in high esteem, and he does wonder how high will Luffy's ceiling go. In the scanlations, he says as great. So in the scanlations, you can argue that in this case, maybe there's a degree of awe on Kaido's part. It's kind of crazy how Kaido was defeated 7 times as a pirate. He was captured by the Navy 18 times, and yet it is these 5 individuals that stand amongst the cream of the crop in Kaido's eyes. Now granted, we know for a fact that Kaido and Big Mom, they can fight, obviously, for a long period of time. So it's safe to say that he does respect Big Mom in terms of power. It's safe to assume that he knows what Garp can do because he was on God Valley. At least that's the assumption. But Garp and no Marines are in Kaido's top 5. This is Kaido's top 5! Judge is, of course, always top 5. Confirmed, not confirmed. Merch, link in the box below. That being said, now I would also argue that Kaido's top 5 are actually stronger than Kaido himself. Yes, Kaido, he says that these guys can fight him, but all the guys I see there, so for example, Gold D. Roger in my mind, which is a very, very big brain, a lot of grooves, 500 IQ on the regular, except for when I'm reading, because for the most part, I dropped to like 50, but it's not important.
I'm so smart it hurts.
Gold D. Roger is goated, in my mind, to be the strongest character in the history of One Piece, universally. Universally, meaning past, present. Though there is potentially one exception, I'd argue, which would be Rox D. Sebek, who according to Sengoku was Roger's greatest foe or Roger's greatest rival, one of those. And some folks theorize that Sebek is Emu.
What?
We have to wait and see on that one. That's a pretty crazy theory. But Rox D. Sebek and Gold D. Roger, I'll put like my top 2 of all time. And of course, Prime Roger. Because Prime Newgate, Prime Whitebeard, that's a very key word right there. Not Marineford War, old sick Whitebeard, Prime Whitebeard, I do put over Kaido as well. Oden, I think I do as well, because Oden, I think at that point in time fighting against Kaido was stronger than Kaido, but only by a hair, only by a sliver, because it was the Ryohaki predominantly that puts Oden over Kaido to bypass and to counter Kaido's natural defenses. But Oden, I would argue, if he was alive to this day, he would be probably the strongest character in the verse, if not like top 2 guaranteed. He'd be over Kaido essentially. He'd be over Kaido without question in my mind. And Oden does get a lot of Oda wank. I mean, it's Chaden for a reason. The man, even Akainu knew about Chaden. It's like Chaden is clearly a character that Oda pushes time and time again to be in the upper echelon. He would have beaten Kaido if not for the Baba's actions. And then 5 years earlier, Kaido admitted that, yeah, if Oda actually been the crazy mad lad like people said that he was, well, things would have been a lot different. And then finally, Akagami no Shunksu, the only person alive in this pantheon of Kaido's top 5. And that could be foreshadowing to where my boy Red Hair Shanks, the God King of the Verse, does pass away. But of course, if by Blackbeard, probably underhanded means. Knowing Blackbeard, all right? Blackbeard is the Ric Flair of One Piece. He does low blows all the damn time. If Shanks is going out, he's not going out clean because Blackbeard is doing some filthy stuff, obviously. That being said, though, red-haired Shanks had an altercation with Kaido before arriving at Marineford War. Therefore, based on that, wherever I put Kaido, I have to put Shanks a little bit ahead of Kaido based on portrayal. And this panel of Kaido's top 5 only solidifies that notion even further, where Shanks is probably stronger than Kaido, I would argue. So Kaido's top 5 are potentially also stronger than Kaido himself, and I'd argue that absolutely. Now, what is Oda trying to tell us, the readers, through this very important panel? What he's telling us is, I think, what Don Chinjao said to Luffy way back when, about surpassing the admirals, surpassing the Yonko, surpassing Gold D. Roger himself. I think that what Oda's trying to tell us is essentially Luffy inevitably, at the end of the day, will be in this pantheon of greats, truly great men. And he will probably surpass all of these men. Luffy will be the strongest character in the entire series, probably at least, come end of series. Again, the only exception I think is Imu, where Imu could be the Kaguya of One Piece. Maybe, but I'm not too sure. But the key thing here, and what Kaido realized about Luffy, he acknowledged that Law, Kid, and Luffy were monsters. But in Luffy's case, because Kaido absolutely destroyed him a few days ago, and then he comes back now with the Red Rock and actually doing damage to himself, he has to wonder, how can this be possible? And Kaido, I think, realized Luffy's accelerated growth rate. I did a video on Luffy being overpowered almost a year ago now. It's a very good video. You should check it out. I ain't gonna front. It's a very good video. Yes, indeed. Luffy is overpowered in the sense of he grows at an exponential rate compared to many of the people, including his own crew. Which is why, even though some folks want to preach that Kid is just as strong or stronger than Luffy, I have never believed that throughout the entirety of the post-time skip. Ever since we have training, and then Luffy has progressively gotten stronger over the course of Whole Cake Island and Wano Country, I just don't see anyone among the Supernova or any of his peers being as strong as him. I really don't. And because Luffy is, at this point in time, the only one that can actually do substantial damage to Kaido, he is the one among the monsters that Kaido has his eyes on the most. Kaido saw the visage, he saw the image of Oden when all of the scabbards attacked him. And he said it wasn't enough. But he's getting that from Luffy and Luffy alone. Like, no offense to the scabbards, right? Like, Denjiro's kind of nasty, Ashidoji's kind of good. I mean, we saw against Jack, we saw Inuashi and Enigmamushi, they off-screened Jack, which Oda is capped for that, I ain't gonna front. Like, to this day, capped for that. But the fact of the matter is that the visage of Oden, Kaido could see in all the scabbards. He's seeing Shanks, Oden, Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard in just Luffy. It's like, oh. It's a wrap! Luffy's heights are far higher than I think the vast majority of characters in his peer group. I think that's very, very obvious. I don't think that, like, Kid will be as strong as Luffy come EUS? No. Law? No. No one. Just Luffy. And Blackbeard. Almost forgot about my boy, Mr. All Day, Every Day, 24/7, 365. He is undoubtedly Luffy's main worst generation rival. That is, I argue without question. Why does Kaido smile though, right? When Kaido starts to realize what Luffy is, or who he can be, he smiles like, yeah, absolutely. He smiles at them because he's excited. He still wants to die. He's a man that wants to die. And maybe because he sees Luffy amongst this top 5 now, like he has a potential, he could be in a way subconsciously excited for this fight because this fight could bring him ever so closer to his dream of death. Maybe. But I'm going to see how that plays out. And then finally, I have to consider a very important thing here. This is Kaido's top 5. Shanks in the top 5. And I think it's done so in no real particular order. So I was swayed a little bit by Eric of the Red Force Podcast. I really was. A lot of super Shanks fanboys say that Shanks is just as strong as Gold D. Roger.
What the fuck?
Now, the instinct, the gut instinct is cap.
That's cap. That's cap. That's cap. That's cap. That's cap. That's cap.
Hard cap. But let's not rely on our gut instinct, especially when you had Chipotle and your gut's kind of all messed up. When I think about it like this, if Roger was the strongest of his era, if he was, Shanks would be the strongest of the current era, and then in the future, Luffy would be the strongest of the next era. And then you can kind of see in the imagery, it's somewhat diagonal, where you have Goldie, Roger, Shanks, and then Luffy. And I'm like, It's also in like the opening for the first opening for the New World, where you have that opening, Roger wearing the straw hat when he was younger, then Shanks wears the straw hat, then he passes it down to Luffy, and then now he has the straw hat. It's like those that wore this straw hat potentially are each the strongest or have the capability of being the strongest of their time. So is Shanks as strong as Goldie Roger? My gut is still saying no, right? But I do have to wonder, I really do have to wonder, where does Shanks now fit in the top 7 or top 8 of all time? If he's on that list. Like normally I'd have, like, let's say a Prime Garp or Prime Sengoku, but given Kaido's top 5, Garp and no Marines are in Kaido's top 5. I have to think about my boy Shanks. I really do. I really, really do. So I'm not making any bold assertions just yet, but I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about it a lot. Shanks, is he in the top 5 strongest characters in One Piece history? History. Oh boy. Oh man. So, on that note, let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. A very important panel, because I think Oda is telling us, the readers, at the end of the damn day, this is who Luffy is. This is where he will inevitably stand with and ultimately probably surpass these guys, like what Don Chinjao said arcs ago. But I'm going to see you guys and gals in the future. Y'all take care. Be easy. Stay safe. And have a nice one.